And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. It's the fourth year that we're paying tribute to somebody who I think was a giant in our community, Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, Dr. Chaim Aram ben Yisrael Meir Wakslak, and he served many years as a spiritual leader of the Young Israel of Long Beach. He was at Camp HASC and he was involved in the Jewish community. And I'm just reflecting over the years that I got to know him. And he had contacted me when he heard that I was in Lido Beach for the summertime. Actually, I was on the border of Long Beach. And he sent me an email that I should come by the shul. And I came by and I met him, was very impressed, he and his Rebbetzin. And not just so much for his erudition, and he was a big Talmud Chacham, and he was, I think, a tremendous, Baal Chesed. That's what I think he and his wife excelled in. It's helping so many people. I just know a tip of the iceberg. But we're going to reflect on his lifestyle and his life and his legacy tonight. Joining us, and of course, is Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz, who is a parent and who knew Rabbi Wakslak, Menachem Gross, who I know so many years. Somebody's the best guest you have from right in the midst of your community. And Menachem Gross is a member of the Young Israel of Long Beach. He served as the Gabbai of the shul for 20 years, from 2001 to 2021. He grew up in Israel, and he's involved in science and engineering. And he connected with Rabbi Wakslak. We'll talk to him, as well as Dr. David Diamond, who's served as president, chairman of the board, who has been on this program many times in the past, and also a close friend of Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak. And I believe we'll be speaking to Jeffrey Lederer and others during the course of this broadcast. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this very, very special broadcast. Let me begin with you, with Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz. You knew him for many years. We're speaking to you in Baltimore, Maryland right now. Tell us about your meeting, your association, and connection with Rabbi Wakslak.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Zev, for having me on the show. I was privileged to be asked by Rebbetzin Wakslak to say, to share some of my reflections about the Rav Zatzal. So this goes back to, I think, around 2008. We have a son, and we moved him to New York. Without getting into all the personal details, he has disabilities, and he required the intervention of an organization like HASC, which is really a tremendous organization that Rabbi Wakslak was maybe, I guess, the second in command for many, many years. So somebody introduced us to Rabbi Wakslak. We went with our son, and my wife put it this way, we called him Dr. Wakslak until I realized the broad spectrum of his life in the shul. Meeting Dr. Wakslak gave us a sense of relief, because you were dealing with somebody with tremendous wisdom, tremendous empathy, and somebody who was able to cut through all the noise. People had different opinions about this or that, and he just welcomed us into his life. And he took a personal interest in our son, and he really changed my son's life, our son's life, and our own life, because we were able to breathe easier knowing that a person like Dr. Wakslak really was at the helm of our son's care and treatment. So that goes back to 2008. Over the years, we became personal friends of the Rav and Rebbetzin, and I have a program where I become scholar in residence. I do different programming around the country, and Dr. Wakslak heard about it. He said, "Why don't you come speak in our shul?" So he had me come 3 years in a row to the Young Israel of Long Beach. I got to meet Menachem. I think I met Dr. Diamond. Menachem is an ace guy, one of the best I've ever seen in my life. He probably still knows my name and my father's name to call me up for an aliyah. I bet you. I'm not going to test you, Menachem.
If he does, it's going to cost you.
Probably have to look it up.
But if I may, Zev,
sure, go right ahead.
Watching, it was an incredible transition for us to see how Dr. Wakslak changed and morphed into Rabbi Wakslak in the shul. This is a story that blew me away. I'm sure it's no big deal to you, Zev. You know about it. Menachem knows about it. David knows about it. Anybody in the Young Israel of Long Beach knows about it. But for an outsider like me, it blew me away. He said, you know, you'll come, you'll speak for Shabbos. And by the way, there's a Shavuot Brachos Friday night. You'll join the Rebbitzin and me. We'll sit at a table together. We said, great. My wife and I came. And we got a warm welcome in the shul. And we're at this Shavuot Brachos in the shul. And Rabbi Wakslak disappears. I had no idea where he went. And I think I needed an extra glass, an extra cup. I went into the kitchen, and there he is wearing an apron, putting chicken on plates. I said, Rabbi Wakslak, what are you doing? He goes, I'm putting chicken on plates. and he did it with a big smile. And then I found out that this is how he operates. Here's a Rav of a shul, a successful psychologist at the top of his field. He's running an organization. I think it's the second largest Jewish organization of its kind in New York. He's running it. He's doing the job of 3 people. It took them 3 people to replace him. And he's putting chicken on a plate on a Friday night after a long week where he's doing chesed, untold chesed that nobody even knows about, Arayom Hazeh, for families like ours. And he's putting chicken on a plate and potatoes.
And, you know, so he didn't stand on ceremony. He did whatever he had to do during Sandy, and that I think was a shining moment. I actually said to him that I reminded of the Medrash. They say Avraham was the captain of the world in good times and turbulent times. And I said to you, Rabbi Wakslak was also the same, because during Sandy he was directing traffic. He was schlepping food to feed people, Jews and non-Jews alike, during Israel. He was sending volunteers out to different homes, including my home that needed help during the Sandy superstorm. And he just took command. He was in charge, and people don't even realize that he did this on a regular basis. But people saw it, I think, during Sandy because of all the public attention. He and his wife Rivka got commended by New York State for what they did. But you're saying is, I'm not surprised. I saw him schlepping chairs and things because whatever had to be done, he did. He did not stand on ceremony.
Right. Yeah, well said. So it was, for me, it was really breathtaking to see him in the shul, and the love that people like those on this broadcast showed him and displayed for him, and it was reciprocal. I mean, I just could not. I mean, how big can a person's heart be? I mean, he had all the people like my son and many others, you know, receiving services in HASC. He knew everybody's name. He knew everybody's buttons and every issue. I think he was a real gift to us, and a gift, I think, to humanity.
It certainly was. Let me turn to you, Menachem. How did you get to meet Rabbi Wakslak? I know you were in Israel, you were involved in airplanes, right? And what was it, Boeing you worked for a variety of different companies. And so you were somebody who was connected both in Israel and here. How'd you end up in Long Beach, first of all? How'd you get connected to Rabbi Wakslak?
Okay, I'll give you my short story how to end up in Long Beach. I started with a company called The Public on Long Island. They sent me to Seattle to be an industry assist to help them with development of the airplane 767. When my son turned 6, we said we have to go to find him a stronger school. We had a school, there was a Hebrew Academy of Seattle, and we decided to come back to New York. I worked in Bethpage, and I didn't want to come back to Brooklyn because I originally, spent years in Brooklyn. And I ended up looking at communities. I looked at a 5-town which was not developed like this today. You talk about in the early 80s. You're talking about West Hempstead, even Plainview we looked at, and Long Beach. Long Beach was very attractive in terms of what it had to offer. The people that lived here, there were people like, for example, the former secretary of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who lived in Long Beach. Rabbi Baruch from Vadat Zola, people like that.
Was that Rabbi Mendel from Chabad who was?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I used to say Tehillim with him every Shabbos afternoon. David, did you say that too? You were there also, right? He was still around.
Not with Rabbi Mendel. I came afterwards.
Afterwards, he passed away. But Rabbi Mendel,
he had moved out by then.
Yeah, he used to say Tehillim with us with Willie Wolf. He never wanted to be called Rabbi. He used to say Tehillim Kufi test every Shabbos afternoon after Mincha. So that attracted me to come to Long Beach, and I Baruch Hashem don't regret it. We sent our kids to the good schools and so on. But Wakslak was not in town when I came. He came about a year after I came to Long Beach, and it was hard to say, hard to explain. A breath of fresh air, that's not enough. Gemara says, right? You buy yourself a friend and you decide who's going to be your love. I have many Rosh Yeshivas in my life. I have a gift of Hashem, Rabbi Sorotsky, Rabbi Chaim Stein tells many other Yeshivas, Rabbi David. But when I met Rabbi Wakslak and we started talking, we started exchanging ideas, philosophies in Yiddishkeit, what appropriate, what's appropriate, how do you cater to different people at different levels? It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And I have to tell you that you said, Rabbi Horowitz, the outpouring that he said, for example, every shul has to have a Kiddush on Shabbos afternoon, Shabbos after davening. And not only did he say it has to do, but he actually did it himself. He used to pick up the goodies from in Brooklyn because it was in HASC, and he used to bring him to Long Beach and then basically make sure that they get on the oven before Shabbos. The small end of it. Many people have different issues. He was there for everybody. Anybody who had personal issues with education, issues with marriage, he was big on that. He was very, very helpful. And also very discreet. Unbelievably discreet. He kept things to himself, and nobody had an idea if there's an issue. He took care of this. He took care of it. I just happened to be once in his house, I don't know what it was, discussing something on Pesach or something, and some professionals came in and discussed issues with education. All he had to do is give me a high sign, disappear. And I disappeared. I did not know, didn't ask any questions, and he said, afterward, he said, whatever it was, thank you very much, and continue to the next. He took care of it, and I know for a fact that he took care of what it was supposed to be taken care of. Just to give you an idea how personal he became, when our first grandchild was born in Baltimore, the bris was davening was 7:30 in the morning, and the bris was supposed to be like 8:15. Obviously, we went to for Shabbos already, and I think the bris was the middle of the week. And sure enough, 7:30, who's there for davening? Rabbi Wakslak. He woke up 4 o'clock in the morning, or before 4 o'clock, got into his car, and drove to Baltimore. You know, you don't invite for a bris, but even that I didn't think. He was there for the bris, and then he drove back to his task at HASC. It was mind-boggling to see him there. Unbelievable. I mean, it's uplifting. It's everything that you can think about it. And you mentioned before, I think, Zev, you mentioned about Sandy.
Right.
Unbelievable in Sandy. Not only did he, after Sandy, we had Hanukkah, not only did he say we're going to make Hanukkah big and very powerful, the sanitation department and together with the fire department built up almost like a mountain on Broadway.
Right, it was like a Park Sinai almost. But
basically, I know it was 50, 60, 70 feet tall. I know he basically climbed up, put up the menorah on top of that, and lit the menorah every night on that mountain, if you want to call it. He didn't ask for help. I mean, with the help of him, but he did all himself. Basically, it was his initiative, and also he introduced something very important, which I forgot to mention, Daf Yomi. In the early 90s, he introduced Daf Yomi. We were fortunate enough, we had the schools to learn with him Daf Yomi for 2.5 cycles, which means 15 years for 2 cycles, and then another half a cycle. And also, fortunately, and unfortunately at the same time, I was the one who was with him at the Siyum HaShas, January of 2020. Realized he passed away in February. So the month before. I drove him home. Bunch of us were in the car, and we started talking. I said, Wakslak, you don't look good. You don't look good. I said, I'm tired. The following day or the day after, he didn't come to Daf Yomi anymore. And a few weeks later, he passed away. We managed to get him through another member of our shul and Nelson Spieth. The sefer that we found about the guy who started Daf Yomi, Rabbi Shapiro. I forgot the name of the sefer. It's about $2,000. I think we all participated. Everybody put in like $200. We all participated, and he gave the sefer. Unfortunately, the night I came to give him the sefer, he was already did not take people anymore. And his son, Shibod L'chaim Morning, gave the sefer the next morning. He was very, very appreciative. I think that was like on a Wednesday. He passed away on Thursday or Friday. The night was on Friday. So this could have been on Tuesday. A day or two later, he passed away. I have to say, the amount of merit, the amount of righteousness, the amount of, at the same time, pious. He never boasted about himself. Nothing. That will remain with us forever. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the schus to merit and to follow in his directions the way he represented himself. But basically he said, do as I do, don't do as I say. And definitely he did it. He was a tremendous example for us throughout his life. And schudot again aleinu.
Amen. We're paying tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak, actually Dr. Chaim Aaron Ben Yisrael Meir Wakslak, and as you heard, he was the spiritual leader of the Young Israel of Long Beach for 3 decades. He was prior to that Rav of the Young Israel of Bell Harbor for 14 years. He's the clinical director of HASC. He was involved in OHEL. He was involved in so much communal work, and even those outside the communities he's helped. He and his Rebbe's and Rivka Wakslak, they've done so much, and as Menachem said, during Sandy is when it really came to the fore, where people saw the hard work they both did, visiting people, visiting the sick, making sure people had food, schlepping food, and that's why they were commended by New York State for it. Our guests include Menachem Gross, who was a former Gabbai at Young Israel, Dr. David Diamond, former president, director of the chairman of the board, very active in the community even today, and Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz, a parent who interact with Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Talkline Network. And by the way, if you have any recollections, we can try to squeeze in 1 or 2 phone calls. 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. You want to email us, zev@talklinenetwork.com, zev@talklinenetwork.com. Coming up in a little while, we'll speak to Rabbi Chaim Dalfin about not only the tunnels of 770, but look at the connection or lack of it between the Aguda and Chabad. And then we'll speak to Ari Harrow, who is a former chief of staff to Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, and he had to testify against him. We'll talk about that, as well as his perceptions of what it's like to be Bibi and some insights into his personality. And we'll also look about President Obama and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. You don't want to miss our special broadcast. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Zev Brenner. I remember the World Jewish Expo when Camp Expo launched 18 years ago. Today, it's bigger and better than ever, and it's really not just the Camp Expo, but the focus on hotel programs, senior and assisted living centers, bungalow colonies, yeshivas, and of course, camps. With over 150 booths, plus 50 new exhibits, come to the Expo and discover new ideas, as well as new trends and new services. It's one day only on Wednesday, February 14th from 10 to 6 p.m. at the Meadowlands Expo Center. Open to all staff members of camps, yeshivas, schools, hotel programs, bungalow colonies, senior and assisted living centers, and more. To exhibit, call 718-633-0733. That's 718-633-0733 to 10. Go to jewishexpos.com. Buses available from Borough Park, Williamsburg, Muncie, and Lakewood.
Please join Dr. Shelley Hirsch, Ari Freed, Dr. Yitz Goldberg, and myself, Dr. Robert Wolf, at the new time of 9:30 p.m. Thursdays on 6:20 a.m. and 102.7 FM for our important and widely acclaimed show, The History of Jews in Israel. We present the facts related to the history of the Jewish state in Israel and knock down the lies and falsehoods related to the Jewish homeland. You can also now email us at blueandwhitefacts@gmail.com. That's blueandwhitefacts@gmail.com. Come listen to the truth.
Butternut, 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 butternut.
Nestled in the heart of the Berkshires, Ski Butternut is an independently owned ski area and tubing center located in charming Great Barrington, Massachusetts. This year, we partnered with LL Bean to bring you $25 lift tickets and $25 tubing tickets every Friday, excluding holiday periods. We are also serving up complimentary s'mores for the kids on the weekends. With 22 trails and 1,000 feet of vertical, Butternut is renowned for having the best snow in the region. We offer ski and snowboard lessons for all abilities and ski levels, from the first-timers to the seasoned vets. In addition to the ski mountain, Butternut has an 11-lane snow tubing center with a surface lift to make getting back up the hill effortless. Ski Butternut is your go-to destination for family fun this winter. Ski Butternut, where families go to play in the snow.
Are you feeling lost in the maze of Medicare? Are all those ads that you see and hear confusing? I'm Medicare Menachem Friedman, and I can help you make the right choice. Over 15 years ago, I helped my grandparents navigate the complex world of Medicare. They were confused, but I brought them clarity, and I can do the same for you. I host countless Medicare educational events, breaking down the ABCs and Ds of Medicare. No jargon, just plain talk. Wondering when to enroll? I can advise you at the proper time to enroll at the right moment so you can avoid penalties and make informed choices. If you're confused about Medicare supplement plans with Part D RX versus Medicare Advantage, I will help you weigh those options. I don't work for Medicare, but work for you. And change your plan. Fear shouldn't drive your choices. I will empower you to make clear and concise decisions. Say goodbye to that Medicare anxiety. I'll help you find the plan that fits your unique situation. From New York to Florida to California, I'm licensed in over 25 states. Please connect with me, Medicare Menachem Friedman, today. Call 347-738-6846. That's 347-738-6846, or you can find me on the web at mindfulmedicaresolutions.com, because your Medicare journey deserves a trusted companion.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dov Surin, and I have the song going, Zachreini Na, my hit song, which means remember me. And how can you ever forget quality? They're at a new location now with a state-of-the-art showroom at 1416 38th Street in Brooklyn, between 14th and 15th Avenue. They're serving the tri-state for over 50 years with the best in carpeting and flooring. Take down their number, 718-941-4200. Quality!
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. Zev Brenner paying tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Ben Yisrael Meir Wakslak of blessed memory, 4th Yahrzeit, in fact, at Young Israel of Long Beach on Sunday. Tonight at 5 o'clock, there'll be Mincha, there'll be a Suda banquet in tribute, and of course, there'll be speeches. Everybody's welcome to attend. That's taking place at Young Israel. That's tomorrow, Sunday, starting at 5:30 p.m. right after Mincha Ma'ariv. And as I said at the onset, I just knew Rabbi Wakslak for so many years, and I enjoyed being with him, and not just because he was erudite and learning, and he had a wonderful sense of humor, and he was also, especially on the Kabbalah Shabbat, when he made that Karbach Kiddush, which just was amazing. But the fact was, he was so involved in helping people. That, to me, is the mark of a truly great person. The fact one can learn is important, but the fact that you do the chesed, and he and his Rebbitzin, he should be well, were so involved in helping people from all walks of life. They didn't care where you came from. They were helping. It's just something similar which we can learn and emulate from. Our guests include Menachem Gross, former Gabbai of the Shul. He was with Boeing and some of the aerodynamics industry. Dr. David Diamond, past president of the Shul. Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz is a parent who interacted him through HASC. Let me turn to you, Dr. David Diamond, as president of the Shul, and you're still active in the Shul on a day-to-day basis. I thank you for all the work that you're doing. Tell us about how you first came and got involved with Rabbi Wakslak.
So we live in Long Beach now for 30 years. our first introduction to Rabbi Wakslak was before we moved in. He got a phone call. He introduced himself. He knew we were moving in, and he said that if there's any help we need, if there's anything we need, don't hesitate to call him. That was before we even moved into Long Beach. By the way, thank you, Zev, for giving us the opportunity to talk about the Rav Zatzal.
No, I just think it's, there's so many, he affected so many lives, and I know that you were very close with him, and that's why I know you joined us last year. We appreciate you coming and get back again this year, because people should have to understand. I think there should be a book written about him. I told this to the Rebbitzin, because so much that we could learn from the chesed, from the good deeds, and from the stories of people that interacted with him. And sometimes it's the small things that are really the big things.
Absolutely. And going back to how we were introduced to him, we moved in and he basically took us under his wing. I like to tell the story that I found out that I was a vice president of the shul when I read it in the newsletter. And listening to Shlomo and to Menachem, you would think that they told so much about the Rav that there'd be nothing else to say. But I was thinking you can have an 8-hour show and fill it with people talking about him, and then the next day have another 8-hour show and still fill it with people. That's how many lives he touched. In terms of his leadership, he was truly a community leader. You walk around Long Beach and just look at what he had accomplished in terms of not only the shul, but the mikveh, the establishments that are kosher because of him, a bagel shop, a bakery, the butcher shop, Carvel.
Don't forget Dunkin' Donuts.
I mean, it's just incredible that one person can accomplish so much.
And let me interrupt you. I think Menachem said that he woke up 4 o'clock in the morning to drive to Baltimore for a bris. He got up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He went to turn the lights on in the bakery, the fire on the bakery, did the daf yomi. He worked from early morning to really late at night.
Sure. So in terms of on a personal level, he did things that you wouldn't expect, that were above and beyond what you would expect somebody to do. He was at the bris of our first grandson. Now, the drive from, anybody who knows the drive from Long Beach to the Bronx to Riverdale on a morning, that's not an easy ride, and I think he did actually comment on it. We were zocheh to have him at our son and daughter-in-law's chasana. He was a Masada Kedushin. He drove down to Baltimore for that. My daughter and my son-in-law were honored by their shul in Riverdale, and he was there. He and the Rebbitzin were there. It's just, he was somebody who cared about the people that davened with him. Again, he was a true leader, as you mentioned, during her after Hurricane Sandy. I mean, the true leadership qualities that he had really came through. Like, it's just he supported and he kept the community going after such a horrific event. And he did it, as you said, shash still. You didn't look for accolades. He
didn't look for publicity. He did it. Yeah.
That's what a leader does, and I told him that on numerous occasions. Something that many people might not be aware of was his tremendous sense of humor. I don't know, Zev, if you came to appreciate it, but he had this dry wit. He was just, you talk about a Rav Zatzal, you don't want to say he was hilarious, but that's actually the fact. He was very, very funny. I don't know, Shlomo, you're laughing, so you must have heard it also.
Rabbi, you heard that as well. His humor, his wonderful, wicked sense of humor. I loved it. In the shul, between that and the gematриas were amazing.
May I just add one thing?
Go right
ahead. You probably agree with me. I think you and I know Ne'ilah by Rabbi Wakslak of Shalom was second to none. He was not a chassan. He didn't have a voice of a chassan, but the tefillah of Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur by him was unbelievable. It was a perfect opportunity for anybody who davened in shul to have kavanah and to have true tshuva.
Agree.
It was like a malach when he davened Ne'ilah.
You know, Menachem, you say he wasn't a chazan, but he knew chazanas.
He knew chazanas, but he didn't have the you know, the Vyotrian of the
He loved chazanas. He brought chazanim to the shul.
Yeah, but Ne'ilah was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I always enjoyed his Kalbach Kiddush on the Kalbach Shabbaton. That also was a highlight of the summer when we were there. But I mean, again, he with a twinkle in his eye, and he just did it, and it was just marvelous, you know. And like you said, I heard some of his sense of humor, some of his speeches that he gave on Shabbos morning. A fantastic sense of humor, and
another highlight of the year for us, and this was something that Rabbi Chaim Wakslak told me once. She said it was for those who were there. It was his Purim spiels.
Yep.
Early on, I was kind of the photographer, the official or unofficial photographer of the shul, and I videotaped several of the Purim spiels. And somebody who couldn't attend asked me if I can give them a copy. I asked Rebbitzin. She said, if you were there, you were there. And nobody, after that, it was not for anybody to see.
Are they still available on video?
I'll have to ask the Rebbitzin.
Okay, we'll have to do an investigation. Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz, I think you wanted to say something.
No, I enjoyed his sense of humor immensely. And he could also diffuse a tense situation with humor as well. You know, we had meetings in HASC, and sometimes there were differences of opinion and lack of clarity, and he'd come into the meeting and he'd crack a joke, everybody would relax, and then he would usually figure out, you know, a next step. I don't want to interrupt David, but, you know, when you're finished, David, I have another point I want to make about the rabbi.
We can go on and on. I don't want to take up any more time. You know what I've said. You know how I feel. He's missed every day. Our family misses him. The community misses him. So I don't think there's anything more to say.
We'll get to go back. I have another comment I want to talk to you, but let me speak to Rabbi Horowitz. Go ahead. What do you want to comment?
So, as a parent of a child who was serviced by HASC, who has been living in a HASC home for about 15 years, one thing that we observed with, I'll switch and call him Dr. Wakslak now, is that he had a lot of faith in people. He probably to congregants of his shul, it's probably a global thing that he had. He had faith in us as parents. He had faith in our son and other people with disabilities that they could get to the next level. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think I'm a better parent. My wife's already a great parent, but I think I'm a better parent because of our interaction with Dr. Wakslak. And I think our son and many others like him are doing better because Dr. Wakslak believed in them.
No, very well said. I do want to turn to Dr. David Don. There's something that moved me immensely. I know you commented on a previous broadcast, but I think it's worthwhile discussing. And everybody was shocked when, and I think, Menachem, you alluded to the fact that the Siyum Shas took place in January and he passed away in February. And it was diagnosed very quickly that he had only a short time to live. I think from the time that he got the diagnosis till, unfortunately, he passed away, I think it was around a week. And the day before he passed away, Dr. Diamond, he was in contact with you and several other leaders of the University of Long Beach. He spent hours giving you a vision of what he'd like to see the shul do. I was moved by the fact that here he is. He knows he's passing on, and yet he's spending time and making sure that the shul will survive and continue. Tell us about that, because I know you were privy, you were part of that.
So I'm a dentist. So when I treat patients, I don't have my phone with me. But when Rabbi Wakslak got sick, I kept my phone with me. I don't know why, just in case. And on the Wednesday before he was nifter, I felt my phone vibrating, and I excused myself. There's always something I can say to a patient, bite on this piece of cotton or something. So I took the call. It was Rabbi Wakslak, so thank God I took the call. And I have to admit that most of the conversation was me crying and Rabbi Wakslak talking. And he said that he charged us with keeping the shul going and growing and, not giving up. And basically, and I asked him if I would see him again. He said no. And what he said was that he wanted us to be happy. I did say that, Rabbi Wakslak, it's going to be a long time before we're happy. But that's what he wanted. The shul was his legacy, one of his legacies. As you know, Zev, the front of the shul is basically his Yahrzeit plaque. The shul was named for him and dedicated to him. And it really was a major part of his life and his legacy. And it's just, I don't know what else to say.
No, listen, it was a part of his life, and he cared about the people, he cared about the institution, and there was no job that was beneath his dignity to be involved to do it if he helped the shul. You witnessed that. I think Menachem mentioned that. I saw that, whether it was schlepping chairs and schlepping food from the kitchen. Listen, he had me run the Shabbos afternoon lecture series for many, many years, which I did and I enjoyed doing. And people may not be aware of, we got to the speakers, came for almost gratis. So very, I did our best to try to get, people not to spend money for the shul. But in case there was expenses or people had to be paid, he took it out of his own pocket. And he did it. He didn't. He wanted to make sure the shul survived no matter what. And whether it was schlepping things from the kitchen or taking money out of his own pocket, or just being involved in so many different ways. And the small things that he did is just simply amazing. And that, to me, is a true sense of a leader, is he did not stand on ceremony. He was a psychologist. He was on top of his field. But yet, he didn't have the airs. He just did what had to be done. And he and his wife, I only know a fraction of the stories of some of the cheseds, some of the people who came with problems and how they were helped. And they were able to move on because of his deeds. And that's something very, very special. We're paying tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Wakslak of blessed memory, who was the spiritual leader for 3 decades at Young Israel of Long Beach. He was also the clinical psychologist at HASC, and he was involved in so much of the Jewish community, as you heard, while he was also rabbi of Bell Harbor for 14 years, and he's somebody who had a tremendous impact, and I'm pushing. And Dr. Darman, and I hope everybody else will also, I think there should be a book that talks about his life and goes a little bit more details. And I might add that in Sandy, his house and the Young Israel of Long Beach were not affected by the water. Everywhere around them was affected. His house and the Young Israel of Long Beach did not have water, and Young Israel of Long Beach was a center for help for so many people, both Jew and non-Jew, that were helped by Rabbi Wakslak on the aftermath of Sandy. We're going to be right back with some closing thoughts right after these messages. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
The Jewish Press is the largest independent weekly Jewish newspaper in the United States. It's packed with in-depth articles, interesting podcasts, information about the Jewish world, political and religious commentary, and more. Visit jewishpress.com. or to subscribe to the print edition or advertise, call 718-330-1100. That's 718-330-1100.
Hi, this is Zev Brenner. I remember the World Jewish Expo when Camp Expo launched 18 years ago. Today, it's bigger and better than ever, and it's really not just the Camp Expo, but the focus on hotel programs, senior and assisted living centers, bungalow colonies, yeshivas, and, of course, camps. With over 150 booths with 50 new exhibits, come to the Expo and discover new ideas as well as new trends and new services. It's one day only on Wednesday, February 14th from 10 to 6 p.m. at the Meadowlands Expo Center. Open to all staff members of camps, yeshivas, schools, hotel programs, bungalow colonies, senior and assisted living centers, and more. To exhibit, call 718-633-0733. That's 718-633-0733. To attend, go to jewishexpos.com. Buses available from Borough Park, Williamsburg, Muncie, and Lakewood.
So Moshe Kinderler, we are here at the Jewish Link talking about the Jewish Link Wine Guide Grand Tasting, which is going to be on February 27th.
I want you to know that February 27th represents the first time we've ever done a big event, okay? Now, the publisher playbook says that thou shalt do events. So we've been looking for a long time to think about how the Jewish Link could get into events. And we finally decided that the Jewish Link Wine Guide would be our entree into our first event. And that's something that you work on.
Yes, and this is now our 4th annual edition, which I'm very proud of.
And so am I. And just really looking forward to being there with hopefully hundreds of people, dozens of winemakers in from Israel. You know, for those not, we haven't really pushed the food, but there'll be a very strong food element as well for those non-enophiles out there. But, you know, you tell us who might be there.
Right. So Elon Kornblum of Great Kosher Restaurant Foodoos is managing the food from our end because he is the recognized expert, and we're very happy to put him in charge. And we have Israeli winemakers who are coming in, as you mentioned, and we're going to do basically a specific honor for them. It's sort of a to-be-announced rankings and honors given specifically to some of our winemakers that will be at the event. And we are particularly proud that this event itself is going to be a tzedakah event and will have a tzedakah element to support our Israeli wine growers in Israel during a wartime year.
Absolutely, it's a small way that we're able to kind of help out. We hear a lot about the Israeli wine industry really being hard hit. People are definitely drinking less wine. We are hearing that across the industry, across the world, and hopefully it should be a really nice evening, a good evening for the Jewish Link, for our community, and for everyone who shows up. Please sign up.
And everyone should come out and support and buy your ticket at jlinkevents.com. And we look forward to greeting you.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. We're paying tribute to Rabbi Dr. Chaim Aaron Ben Yisrael Meir Wakslak of blessed memory, and Menachem Gross, among our guests right now, Menachem Gross, who was a former gabbai in the shul. He is also involved he worked with Grumman, Northrop, Boeing Aircraft, Republic Aircraft. He certainly is a mechanical aerospace engineer. And Rabbi Dr. David Diamond is the past president, active in the shul to this very day. Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz is a parent of HASC. Let me turn to you, Menachem. Any closing thoughts? First of all, you're still active in the aerospace industry, correct? Menachem?
He's muted.
Oh, Menachem, you have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Basically, not at full speed, but I'm basically became independent in 2014, and I'm a contractor to the U.S. Department of Defense, NAVAIR. We do stuff for them. Closing thoughts on Rabbi Chaim Aaron Ben Yisrael Meir Zatzal. אדם ניכר בכוסו, בכיסו, בכעסו. I said בלשון הקודש בעברית. Person is recognized with his cup, which means how easy it is to be hosted by him. Kiso, like you said, spend his own money to do chesed. The kaso when he gets angry. Not only angry, also tsar. Unfortunately, Rabbi Wakslak Shalom lost his daughter, Avigail Alei Shalom. She was 39 years old at the time. Little children at home. It was a devastating tragedy. Devastating. The way he handled it, the way him and the Rebbetzin, it was heartbreaking to all of us. But we saw him being able to hold himself and be able to be a leader despite those circumstances. Doing the shiva. he would basically still got involved with the shul indirectly, and things that had to be done in the shul. Do you have about Kodesh Shabbos? Do you do this? Do you do that? He always involved, and he even composed a song. By the way, he had nusach very well because he did compose a song on Shabbos. I think it was just by the bar mitzvah of his grandson, who I think was bar mitzvah 3 months after Avigar passed away. And he sang it to us on Shabbos. Full of heart. That's all I can say. And I would say he scored Koso, Bekiso, Bekaso. He scored phenomenally. And that's what you said. One day when the people write a book about it, we could collectively. That's his essence. He had the proper midos, the proper, beside the being a Talmid Chacham who was learning with us, but how to handle people.
And that's a big key, because people always say, who inspires you? And certainly he was an inspiration because his actions, not just what he spoke from the pulpit, but he actually did and helped people, touch them in so many ways where they needed his assistance, and he was there for them. And that speaks volumes,
Yeah, and you rarely see him on a regular basis get upset in things that are happening in shul. He would make a comment, but you never see him furious. He may be inside. He never showed a cast on the outside.
Rose, thank you for that. Let me turn to you, Rabbi Shlomo Horowitz.
Closing thoughts. We would like to wish the Rebbitzin Arichas Yamim and Nachas from all her children. I understand there has been some smachot in the family. She should continue to have Nachas from everybody. What an incredible woman she is. And one thing that I think was mentioned maybe by you, Zev, is that Rabbi Dr. Wakslak was very discreet. And that's why I think the book is a great idea, but you're never going to get all the stories, because I don't think most of the acts of chesed that he did, he took with him, and we won't ever know. We'll get a fraction of maybe. I think the book is a great idea, and I'll be the first one to buy it. But I don't think you'll get a fraction of what this man has accomplished in his life. We are truly enriched to have known him.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you. But you know what? It's still an inspiration for other people to see how somebody conduct themselves. We live in an age where so many people are cynical of leaders, and they say poor leadership. And the truth is, there are very few real Jewish leaders, real leaders in general.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody in our lifetime who impacted so many thousands of people, I think it should be celebrated. It should be spoken about. And even if only a fraction of the stories get out there, and you can't get everything out, but I think it's inspiration for people to learn to say, oh, here's somebody who lived a life, the religious life, but did what had to be done and did chesed. And that to me is such a big thing. But I appreciate your participation in the program.
Thank you.
Let me turn to Dr. Diamond.
I have two thoughts. First, the Rav was able to see in a person sometimes what a person couldn't see in themselves, and maximize for that person their potential, and somehow have them do things that they didn't think they were able to do. That's one thought. Another thought is that he led by example, as we've mentioned. I remember at the end of davening, there was an exit door right next to his seat. He would go out that door because it went right down into the kitchen. And he went down to prepare food, to help, to serve. And as we said, nothing was beneath him. He did what had to be done. And for that reason, I know for me, and I imagine for others as well, if he asked you to do something, you could not say no, because you knew that, seeing what he did, he was a role model. He served as an example. So if he asked you to do something, how can you say no to somebody like that? And I feel that way to this day when it comes to the shul. If I'm asked to do something, or if I see something that needs to be done, I do my best to get it done.
No, you do. And I think I raise a picture of your efforts and your wife's efforts to really help the shul. And really, that's really what it's all about. It's not just thinking of ourselves, but thinking of others as well. That's the most important thing that I think we're able to pay tribute is the chesed that he and his wife. It wasn't just he did it alone. Rebbe Rivka Wakslak also was a partner with that. And I just end with a thought that I said, and I was just so amazed by it. I think it was the Belzer Rebbe when he came to Israel, and it was around 1940 something. It was before the war is over. He was in Haifa, spent the first Shabbos there. He noticed that his Hasidim weren't in the mood for singing Zmiros, and he said to them, "Why does it say in the Torah, Oz Yashir Moshe? Moshe will sing. It should have sang Oz Shor Moshe. Moshe sang. Why did he say he will sing? Because a lot of them came out, but they had family that was killed in Egypt. There were the firstborns that were killed, the baby boys were killed. There was so much killing of Jewish children that they couldn't sing. But he said, Oz Yashir, why did Moshe say Oz Yashir? Is because they will sing it. They'll be reunited with their families, and there will be Tchias Amazing revival of the dead. And that's what gave him courage, and that's what gave his Hasidim courage. And I just looking forward for the day when we will be able to sing together with Rabbi Wakslak and all the others when the Messiah, Mashiach, comes speedily in our days. I want to thank all of you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank you for the podcast.
No, I just think it's important. People should hear the stories, and we just gave people a small sliver of what Rabbi Wakslak was all about. And today there'll be a tribute at Young Israel of Long Beach. Today's Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Everybody is welcome to attend. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of our show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, when we come back, we'll speak